Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. The day after the counting, we asked, what impact will the 5 state elections have on Indian politics and in particular on the direction it takes? Joining me for today's discussion is the well-known and highly regarded professor of history and one of the country's foremost political commentators, Ramchandra Guha. Ram Guha, let me deliberately start with a broad question. Yesterday was no doubt a bad day for Congress, but how much of a setback was it for the opposition as a whole? And beyond that, how much of a setback for people like you who want to see a fundamental change in 2024?
Well, a clarification, Karan, about your last part of your question. I do not want to see a fundamental change in 2024 because I don't belong to any political party. That said, I believe that the country needs a robust opposition, one party dominance, whether of the Congress kind in the 50s and 60s or 70s or BJP now, is bad for democracy. I also, of course, worry about the attacks on institutions that the Modi government has done. And I have believed, the last thing I'd say for answer your question, I believe that the best governments that India has had, both for economic growth and democratic functioning, have been between 1991 and 2014, when no single party had a large majority. Okay, now so with those caveats in place, the results yesterday, particularly in North India, were a significant setback to the Congress party. And given that the Congress party is the largest grouping in the India alliance, a setback for the alliance as a whole. Because if indeed uh, Indian democracy needs the BJP to come down from 300 to, shall we say, 210, 220, so that it will be much less arrogant, even if it retains power. For that to happen, for a significant dent to be made in the BJP's seat share in the Lok Sabha in 2024, the Congress has to perform much better. The Congress got, if memory serves, 44 seats in 2014, 53 in 2019. It will have to get at least 100 seats so that the India alliance will be competitive. It's possible, because if you look at where the BJP got its 300 odd seats from, it was largely from the Hindi heartland. It's possible that in some states like Bihar, where a major component of the NDA crossed over to the India alliance, the BJP will lose compared to 2019. Likewise, in Bengal, it may also lose a few seats. On the other hand, it may gain here and there elsewhere. So, in the critical, wherever the BJP is against the Congress, again, I am quoting from memory, but my figures are largely correct. In 2019, there was a 1-to-1 direct fight between the BJP and the Congress in something like 192 seats. And the BJP won all but 16 of them. So, in that sense, given how poorly the Congress has performed in the 3 critical Hindi heartland states of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan, it is a significant setback for the Congress and hence for the India alliance, and a reinforcement of the BJP's pole position going into the general election.
Let's first, Ram Guha, focus on the Congress. A few weeks ago,
Congress is very confident of winning Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. So is overconfidence responsible for its defeat in both states? Or can it take comfort from the fact that its vote share in the three Hindi heartland states remains paradoxically almost exactly the same as it was in 2018? It's BJP's vote share that's shot up. Congress's hasn't really declined at all.
So your question is about overconfidence. Now, overconfidence probably applies to Chhattisgarh. Mr. Baghel was chief minister for the. It was his first term. He was given a free hand by the Congress party. There were grumblings, within the party that other people had not been given prominence. Mr. Baghel was trying to mimic what Mr. Modi did in the center by creating a personality cult of himself. You couldn't open, for example, I write for the Telegraph, as you know, and in the mornings I would open the Telegraph app and there would be Mr. Baghel's photograph, So because Chhattisgarh is not that far from Bengal, so overconfidence may have played a part in Chhattisgarh, among other factors. In Madhya Pradesh, the problem is much deeper. It goes back to the last Madhya Pradesh state election of 2018. Now, let's consider Mr. Kamal Nath. We'll come to Digvijay Singh a little later. Mr. Kamal Nath is a Punjabi Khatri whose family was based in Kolkata. He fought here. There was a Congress pocket borough in Chhindwara which he cultivated, but he is not from Madhya Pradesh. Why was he then put in charge of the campaign? Because he's a long-term loyalist to the Gandhi family. In my view, Kamal Nath represents the worst features of Indian politics, not just of the Congress party. He's an intriguer, he's a factionalist, the allegations of corruption against him. There were charges that are still there about his involvement in the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. Yet he was made chief minister in 2018 because he made the smooth transition from being Sanjay Gandhi's acolyte to Rajiv Gandhi's acolyte to Sonia Gandhi's acolyte. Then there is Digvijay Singh, who is of the same vintage as Kamal Nath, now in their late 70s, 5 years ago, in his early or mid-70s. He had last fought an election in 2003, which he lost. And in 2018, when they won, there should have been a generational change. I mean, the sensible thing to have done would have been to make Jyotiraditya Scindia chief minister. And I said this at the time, I'm not an unqualified admirer of Mr. Scindia because, he has the arrogance that comes from his princely upbringing, but he's traveled the state tirelessly. He's much younger. He's absolutely fluent in Hindi and English. And he was supposed to be, ironically, a great pal of Rahul Gandhi. Not only was he not made chief minister, which was the first mistake, but a second and more critical mistake was he wanted a Rajya Sabha seat from the Congress from Madhya Pradesh. And that was given to Digvijay Singh, who again is an old Gandhi family, Sonia Gandhi loyalist. Now, and 5 years later, the same two people are put in charge of the campaign. One who has no real organic connection with Madhya Pradesh, and in trying to build this connection, presents himself as a Hanuman Bhakt and someone who will cultivate Godmen, and of course, you can never outwit the BJP at that game. Digvijay Singh, I believe 4 of his relatives were in the fray. So, in the case of Chhattisgarh, overconfidence seems to have played a part. In the case of Madhya Pradesh, it's a product of the long-standing, pernicious, sycophantic, family-driven culture of the Congress party. Where, as I said, Kamal Nath was originally Sanjay Gandhi's acolyte. And again, you and I agreed on how unpleasant Sanjay Gandhi was by some distance, the most unpleasant of the Nehru Gandhis, And from there, he makes his transition to Rajiv Gandhi. I mean, I can talk quite a lot about Kamal Nath. I won't. I mean, including stories of his misuse of government machinery, which I have seen with my own eyes, dating back 30 years and written about at that time. So to give a person and he has no organic connection with Madhya Pradesh. He's a Punjabi Khatri from a Calcutta business family. Now, how would you expect that person compared to, say, Scindia? Or it doesn't only have to be Scindia, correct? It could be other young leaders. It could be an OBC leader in Madhya Pradesh who is from the state, anyone in their 40s and 50s. Now, that begs the question, why are these old acolytes in their 70s, be given so much responsibility. I mean, it's absolutely shocking.
The corollary to what you're saying specifically about Madhya Pradesh is the Gandhi family is specifically to blame for appointing the wrong people and insisting upon keeping them there, even when they had a choice like Scindia that they could have appointed instead.
The Gandhi family, absolutely. Of course, I don't have, hard evidence, but most likely within the Gandhi family, Sonia Gandhi in particular.
Let's come to another aspect of these elections. Both in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, Congress had been pretty adversely affected by a divided state leadership, with the national leadership failing to resolve the problem for 5 long years. In contrast, the BJP behaved very differently when they had problems with either Vasundhara Raje Scindia or Shivraj Singh Chauhan. And in fact, as the scholar Nalin Mehta has pointed out just yesterday, by fielding ministers and party leaders in Madhya Pradesh, BJP won 53 out of 79 seats they influenced, which Nalin Mehta says is 18 more than last time. In other words, BJP handled its dissident leadership in the states far better than Congress did. Would you agree?
I don't agree. I mean, the Congress did not handle its dissidents well, but the BJP finessed or sidetracked the question of party dissidents in state units by making this a referendum on Narendra Modi. So I disagree with Nalin Mehta. Narendra Modi was on the card, on the ticket in these states, and he said Modi ki guarantee. Very late, Shivraj Singh Chauhan put himself forward, which actually would have benefited because he was clearly, he's a 3-time chief minister. So, and of course, again, I talked about Sonia Gandhi. If you are talking about a credible North Indian national leader, a national leader of the BJP who appeals everywhere in North India and in parts of Western India, it is Narendra Modi. In South India, he doesn't. That's why in Karnataka, where virtually his name was on the ballot, he didn't do so. The BJP didn't do so well, and likewise with Telangana, which we will come to. So I think there again, the Congress does not have a appealing face to present as a national figure in North India. So who do you compliment Gehlot with? Who do you compliment Baghel with? Who do you compliment Kamal Nath with? Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. And it's not just that they're from the dynasty. There are other things with them. Neither has had any administrative experience. I mean, Rahul Gandhi has never had a ministerial job of any kind. Priyanka Gandhi became general secretary overnight of her party. And if you look, I'm sure if you do surveys, Karan, among first-time male voters, young voters, Narendra Modi is much more popular than Rahul Gandhi. Among female voters, Narendra Modi is much more popular than Priyanka Gandhi. So if you have as these campaigners, these star national campaigners, I mean, again, it's a completely uneven contest. So I think it's not that the BJP handled its dissidents better. That's not true. There is no evidence to show that. Absolutely no evidence to show that. It is, they bypassed, sidetracked the question of internal dissidents by presenting this charismatic figure who is prime minister and of course who very artfully uses propaganda, who's a wonderful orator, and of course you have the boots on the ground. I mean, you have the RSS and other boots on the ground, but there is no evidence that one party handles dissidents better than the other.
Let's focus a bit for a moment on Narendra Modi.
But there is evidence that in North India, the BJP has an extremely popular national leader in Narendra Modi, and the Congress side does not. And not only, and of course, Mr. Kharge, who is an experienced and able man, is seen as a South Indian.
Let's focus a little on Narendra Modi. He campaigned extensively in all 3 Hindi heartland states. Do you see these results as a suggestion that the Modi magic continues to sparkle, that Modi ki guarantee was a winner, whilst Bharat Jodo Yatra, which was so highly thought of 5, 6, 7 months ago, by now had fizzled out?
There is very much to it. I mean, he is, particularly in the Hindi heartland and in his native state of Gujarat, he is hugely popular. And it cuts across, and there are many, many reasons for this, and we can talk about that. Early on, when the Bharat Jodo Yatra started and seemed to be gaining momentum, I met a Congress MLC who came up to me in a Bangalore cafe and said, the Bharat Jodo Yatra is doing well, and Mr. Gandhi should announce immediately he is not the prime ministerial candidate. Now, unfortunately, the cult of the family means that implicitly it is Rahul Gandhi versus Modi. And that's why voters are looking now, here and later. And for 2024, we will talk about that. Modi will make it presidential. And it may be for the third time he'll pit himself against Rahul Gandhi, who may have improved incrementally as a politician, who may have shown more energy and dynamism during the Bharat Jodo Yatra than he had shown in his previous 18 years in politics. But yet it is an absolutely uneven contest. And because, Mr. Modi, apart from having all the experience of 12 years as chief minister, 10 years as prime minister, apart from being a commanding figure, he exudes command and authority, apart from being a fabulous orator, has captured the state machinery to promote himself in a very wrong and anti-democratic manner, but yet tragically effective manner.
Let's come, Ram Guha, to some of the broad themes or strands that were discernible during these 5 state elections. First, both Congress and BJP put a lot of stress on what Narendra Modi once called raveries. Both parties used them to attract voters, particularly women voters. But why do you think women voters responded so disproportionately to the BJP compared to Congress? Was it that Ladli Behna was far more alluring than what Congress was offering? Because Congress was offering an awful lot. I mean, it was offering 1,500 per month compared to 1,250, which is Ladli Behna, cylinders at 500, support for daughters' wedding, houses for rural women, and the Bidya Rani scheme of 2.5 lakhs. And yet, everyone seems to have concluded Ladli Behna was more alluring. Why do you think that was the case?
I have not studied this carefully, so I can't give you I have not done any field research in Madhya Pradesh. So I can't give you a well-grounded answer. But Shivraj is, as I said, unlike Kamal Nath, is a local. Unlike Kamal Nath, he's an OBC. Unlike Kamal Nath, he has traveled across the state. He's built cultivated his image as someone who is concerned about welfare. And of course, there have been corruption scandals against him too, but those haven't stuck. So maybe they take him more credibly. Just as interestingly, in Karnataka, Siddaramaiah, who had a very good first term as chief minister, where his concern for the poor and the vulnerable was manifest, and he does not come from one of Karnataka's dominant castes. He's seen also as relatively non-corrupt. He was an opposition leader, but he was seen as more credible than Bombay, that they trusted him more. So often it becomes again, even at the state level, partially presidential. Not wholly. But I haven't studied this, so I can't say. But I think there will be many postmortems done. I'll only say this, that when you think of welfarism, some of it is important and necessary, but sometimes it's excessive. And a focus on welfarism and reveries by both parties. Narendra Modi's party, of course, indulges in it as much as, for example, the extension of the free food grain scheme to 800 million people. I think it comes at the cost of our used to win elections, comes at the cost of our long-term economic growth and prospects, which depend not on handouts, but on creating jobs, opportunities, better schools, better hospitals, more social mobility, and so on and so forth.
The second strand that was again common to both main parties was what Neerja Chaudhary calls competitive religion. Now, we're accustomed to the BJP's stress on Hindutva, but this time Kamal Nath delivered a very clear Hindutva agenda in Madhya Pradesh, Bhagel in Chhattisgarh. Kamal Nath spoke of installing Lord Ram idols, of a Ramvan Gaman Pat, of a Sita temple. Bhupesh Baghel spoke about a Kaushalya temple, about a Ramayan Mahotsav to project the state's cultural identity. And yet, quite clearly, from the result, it seems, religion worked for the BJP, it didn't work for Congress. Is that because people thought Congress was simply imitating the BJP?
They're doing it instrumentally and opportunistically. But again, I'd like to go beyond just winning and losing elections and to see a little bit about what the rhetoric used to win an election, what impact it can have on Indian society as a whole going forward, on the future of our country and our democracy. The BJP under Amit Shah and Narendra Modi has been much more visibly and directly majoritarian than the BJP, even under Advani, let alone Vajpayee. And their model seems to be 80% of 80%. If you aim, forget the 20%. We don't want, as Aditya Nath said very clearly in UP, and Amit Shah has indirectly said many times, we don't want any Muslims to vote for us. Narendra Modi made the token way appeal to Pasmandas and triple talaq, but Hindu vote, and 80% of that will get them 48%, which in a kind of even in a two-party state like MP with smaller parties fragmenting the vote in independence is enough. Now, what does this do to our long-term health as a society and as a democracy and a civilization, where minorities are dispensable, where in a state like UP, the ruling party will not nominate a single Muslim legislature, even though they are close to 20% of the population. What does this do? So, unfortunately, Karan, political analysts, even the best among them, and I consider these are Chaudhary Babak the best among them, are so focused on what it takes to win an election, why election was won, why it was lost, that they don't properly examine the long-term consequences of the methods used. And what Amit Shah and Narendra Modi are doing, what I'm calling the 80% of the 80% policy, will have deep and damaging impacts on our society and our polity. It will damage us for generations, even after they are dead and you and I are dead. So I'm more worried about that. I'm a historian. I'm a student of democracy. I'm not a fine-grained analysis of what tactics it takes to win a particular election. That's a small part of my job. So I think this is something we should really, really worry about. What does it mean? Of course, in the south it doesn't work, which we will talk about, which is why Telangana, where the BJP tried very hard to make it a Hindu-Muslim issue. Hyderabad will become Bhagyanagar. Charminar will be replaced or made redundant by a Hindu temple, and so on. The Nizam and the Radhakar. So it doesn't have that much purchase in South India, fortunately. But that it has purchased in such large swathes of northern and western India, what will it do to us when we communalize the whole population just to win elections? I mean, the damage that the Amit Shah, Narendra Modi model of winning elections will scar us as a nation, as a culture, as a polity, as a civilization for generations to come.
It's not just religion that divides us, that has that horrible potential, as you so eloquently pointed out, of dividing us and ruining the sort of country we want to become. So too does caste. But one of the strongest appeals made by Congress, and particularly by Rahul Gandhi this time, was in fact the call for a caste-based census. And yet, again, Nalin Mehta points out, and this time, in fact, Access India points out, that it doesn't seem to have undermined the BJP's, either its Hindutva appeal or the BJP's OBC vote base. According to Access India today, leads of 25% in terms of OBC voting were on the BJP side, both in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. So does it mean that the attempt to polarize along caste lines and Rahul's stress upon a caste-based census failed to evoke any credible response from the electorate?
So I read an opinion piece today by a writer I respect, who seemed to suggest that the problem was that Rahul Gandhi himself is not an OBC. That may be part of the problem. Narendra Modi is an OBC. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is an OBC, right? But there's a larger issue. It's not just a divisive. The caste census is not a divisive. It's a negative agenda. Narendra Modi had one clever and one brilliant riposte to Rahul Gandhi's statement, "Jitni abadi utni haq." Right? He said, does that mean Hindus are 80%, so they should get 80% of the share? That was a clever response. The brilliant response was, I want to uplift four castes who are women, youth, farmers, and the poor. Right? So that's a positive agenda. Now, among the problems with the caste census and the caste obsession with caste reservation is that with economic liberalization and economic growth, most of the jobs will be outside the state sector. Even the Maratha agitation in Maharashtra may have, in terms of our long-term health. Narendra Modi has a kind of Suhas Palsikar has a very interesting article in today's Indian Express. Indian Express. It shows how they combine. There's some fear factor. The Muslims are going to conquer us, which is bad. But there's also hope. We will give you progress, prosperity, employment, a place in the world stage. What is the positive agenda that Jawaharlal Nehru had a positive agenda? Indira Gandhi had if you just look at their speeches, what they're talking about. They're talking about industrialization, education, science and technology, communal, all kinds of things. Women's empowerment. So I think Rahul Gandhi is highly inexperienced, still not inexperienced. He has poor powers of judgment. I can't call him inexperienced after 20 years in politics. He continues to have poor powers of judgment. One is this, that there's no positive agenda. And part of focusing on a negative agenda is that they just attack Modi. By now they should have known, after the abysmal failure of Chaukidar Chor 5 years ago, they should have known that saying Panauti Modi, and Priyanka Gandhi's speeches in MP were only abusing Modi. They were only attacking Modi. So you have to have a positive agenda. How will you give them a better, more dignified life? Not just handouts. And certainly not merely by the caste census. Of course, there is discrimination. And it is true that Rahul Gandhi is himself not an OBC. But I think the Congress is confused, rudderless, led by a family that is out of touch with reality. And maybe all of us suffer as a result.
But you're making a very powerful point there, because so many of the slogans that Rahul brought to bear, not just now, but over the last 10 years, have misfired. Chaukidar Chor hai, Rafale, Caste, Panauti Modi. He seems to have an instinct for hitting upon a slogan that backfires.
Yeah. For example, in 2019, instead of Chaukidar Chor hai, the slogan should have been Achhe Din Kahan hai. For example, a better slogan that would have been Achhe Din Kahan hai. So, absolutely. And, I think, and I would not blame it, you cannot continue to blame it on his advisors. He's been 20 years in politics. What has he learned? So I think, but again, as I said, to go back to...
What you're saying, to misquote Caesar, is the fault lies not in our stars, it lies in ourselves. It lies in Rahul Gandhi.
Well, I think the Gandhi family as a whole, and the culture of the Congress party, which is so significant. The Congress cannot do without the Gandhis, even though the Gandhis are a liability on weakening Hindutva.
One more point about Congress. They always had the capacity to get the poorest in the country to vote for them. In 2018, when the same three states went to the polls, all three states have a fairly substantial tribal population, and the tribes in those days in 2018 voted overwhelmingly for Congress. Now, Nalin Mehta points out that this time, the BJP won 18 of 29 tribal seats in Chhattisgarh, 27 of 47 in Madhya Pradesh, 11 of 25 in Rajasthan. A comprehensive swing of the tribal vote away from Congress, where they were traditionally aligned, to the BJP. What do you think explains that? Is it just Modi?
No. This shift has been going on for at least a decade and a half. Just as the Congress lost the Dalits in northern India to the BSP and a section of the Muslims to the SP and the RJD, this shift of tribals away from the Congress to the BJP is not, Sunday's voting. It's been going on for a decade and a half, steadily, incrementally. It was very interesting. I trust more than passing numbers sitting in Delhi. I trust ground reports. And there was a very good ground report by an excellent reporter called Arunav Saikia, who's been traveling around Chhattisgarh. And he says that the promises that the Baghel government made, particularly of giving Adivasis greater control over their land and natural resources, extending PESA, which is the Panchayati and Excluded Areas, Scheduled Areas Act, to more areas, those promises were never honored. So I think those are issues they'll have to be carefully studied. But again, the Congress has been steadily losing large chunks of its, different social elements of its base. It used to be, many Brahmins used to vote for it. They don't. Many women used to vote for it. In South India, they may still do to some extent for various reasons. So it's a long-term secular decline that the party has experienced, going back really to the 1980s.
We've discussed in very considerable detail why Congress failed to win the 3 states in the north, Hindi heartland states, which incidentally in 2018 they did win, even though they didn't hold on to Madhya Pradesh for very long. Why do you think they won in Telangana? What did they do right in Telangana that they couldn't do in the 3 Hindi heartland states?
I've been thinking about this. So there's several reasons. One is uh, Hindi and Hindutva have limited purchase in South India. And in North India, Hindi and Hindutva go together. And Narendra Modi is a brilliant orator in Hindi, and so are all the other BJP stalwarts. Hindutva also has limited purchase for multiple reasons. Muslims and Christians came here as traders, not as conquerors. We were spared partition. We have a vigorous anti-caste movement, which kind of moderated communalism and many, many things. But there's something else which I would like you and your viewers to consider, because I've been thinking about this ever since the results came. What are the important reasons that the Congress seems to have won in Telangana is their inspired choice of Revant Reddy as fronting the campaign. So he infused dynamism, worked hard, all that is relatively young, all that is talked about. However, what's not talked about so much, and I'd like to bring it to the fore in our conversation, Karan, is that Revant Reddy is a first generation politician. Like Narendra Modi, like Amit Shah, like Sitaramaiah, like Shivraj Singh Chauhan. He's a first generation politician. And he was up against a party which came to power on the Telangana movement, but quickly became a family firm of 4 individuals. Now, we're thinking a bit about this. The Congress is a family firm of 3 individuals: Sonia, Rahul, Priyanka. The DMK is a family firm of 3 individuals: Stalin, Udayanithi, Karibori. The RJD is a family firm of basically Lalu and his son. But they have 4 individuals running the whole show. So it is self-made, dynamic person against a corrupt family. So what are the reasons? I'd like deeper investigation into this. What are the important reasons the Congress did so well in Telangana is the same reason they do so badly in North India. Because Narendra Modi is saying, your party is Gandhi, Gandhi and Gandhi. My party is Modi, Shah and Nadda. All of whom are. So I think this is something absolutely for us to think about. That the nepotism, not just the corruption, but the nepotism of the BRS, previously the TRS, only 4 people mattered. Maybe there wasn't even symbolically a Mr. Kharge as the party president. Right. Now, so against Revant Reddy, who's completely self-made, a first-generation politician, and hence, has a certain credibility that 10 years of being in power and looting the state exchequer, it doesn't give you.
Let me suggest a second reason that may have worked in Congress's favor in Telangana. It's one that's been written about by Sagarika Ghosh. She says it's the fact that in Telangana, just as earlier in Karnataka, the Congress relied upon their chief election strategist, Sunil Kanugolu. Yeah. Famously, Kamal Nath refused to allow Kanugolu to have any role at all in Madhya Pradesh, and you know the outcome in Madhya Pradesh. But Kanugolu had a role to play in Karnataka. He had a very important role to play in Telangana. Is he a reason also why Congress did so well?
So he is clearly a very able electoral strategist, and he played an important role. I won't say decisive role, but a significant role in the Karnataka victory. He's also played a significant role in the Telangana victory. It is not just Kamal Nath who sent him away, but Gehlot recruited one of Kalinoli's associates, Mr. Arora, who clearly doesn't have Mr. Kanigolu's skill and understanding. Right. Now, however, it is likely that the Congress should have been done better than it has done. It was done better in Rajasthan and in Madhya Pradesh if Sunil Kanigolu had been, or his team, it's not just him, there are many people, had been put in charge of the campaign, they've done better. They may not still have won a majority, but they would have done better. It's very likely. However, whether making him all India, the Prashant Kishore of the Congress in a way, to the Congress what Prashant Kishore was to Modi in 2014. Prashant Kishore's team. Again, not saying the whole team. It's interesting how it happens because the Congress will still be burdened with the Gandhis. Here in my state, he had Siddharamaiah and Shiv Kumar against Bombay. In Telangana, he had Revant Reddy against these four, nepotistic family members. So, but yet, absolutely. So, one should not overestimate the role Kanigolu and his team played. But clearly, it was another manifestation of the arrogance of Kamal Nath that he said, I don't want these guys.
You've been very critical of Rahul Gandhi, but let me point something out. In the north, it was local leaders that fronted the Congress campaign. Gehlot in Rajasthan, Kamal Nath in Madhya Pradesh, Bhupel in Chhattisgarh. But Rahul Gandhi and his sister Priyanka played a very important role in Telangana. And they won Telangana. Do you think that Rahul Gandhi has an appeal that works in the south, but maybe not in the north?
I think, firstly, among the three Gandhis, I have some sympathy for Rahul Gandhi and virtually none for the other two. I think he's a decent man. He may not be politically naive and captive to bad advice, but he's a decent man. Priyanka and Sonia are what I call dynasty fundamentalists. They believe that their family has a divine right to rule. And young Indians don't think that. So having said that, but again, so if that is true, let's assume the Gandhis have some appeal in South India, Rahul Gandhi in particular, which is probably true. And it goes back to, the fact that I talked about Hindutva, the fusion that of the BJP strategy that works in the north does not work in the south. Nehru was popular in the south for the same reason, that he protected minorities and did not promote Hindi chauvinism. When the anti-Hindi riots happened in Tamil Nadu in 1965, Indira Gandhi was one of the people within the Congress who worked to get the abolition of English removed, and English reinstated as a linked language. In 1977, when the Congress, after the emergency, was routed in northern India, they won 42 out of 42 in Andhra Pradesh. Right. So they are all these factors. But again, that begs the question, even if this is true, there is some truth to it, that the Gandhis and Rahul Gandhi in particular played some role. Let's not exaggerate the role, but certainly some role, the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and the fact that he is a MP from South India. He is seen as, more accommodating of religious pluralism. But that still begs the question, if 300 odd seats are in North India for the next Lok Sabha election, where he's always a disaster, and Priyanka even more so, put up against Modi, shouldn't the Congress then look, Rahul Gandhi can still be a leader. My view is that, the other two should be dispensed with. Rahul Gandhi can still play a part, but can't they have a dynamic president who can speak Hindi fluently, who is an OBC leader with roots in the north? Are they so impoverished of talent that they have to put Gandhis forward time and again as their prime ministerial candidates?
We're coming to the end of this interview, Ram Guha. Let me put you a couple of questions that look actually to the future. And I suppose the first question is, have these 5 state elections failed to position the India bloc of opposition parties to seriously challenge Modi and the BJP in 2024? And secondly, connected with that, do you think there's a possibility this bloc could fracture, that some parties could peel away?
So I'll answer second first, and then I'll come to your first question. So clearly, this is going to put stress on the bloc. The Congress's credibility has been weakened. People are already saying that the Samajwadi Party wanted 5 or 10 seats to fight in Madhya Pradesh. Why didn't they give it to them? They have been extremely arrogant towards the Aam Aadmi Party, without which the BJP cannot be defeated in Delhi and Punjab, and so on and so forth. Right. So in Bengal, the leadership of the Congress in Bengal has continually mocked the TMC and Mamata Banerjee in particular. So these tests and stains will intensify, and let's see how they worked out. Now again, I want to move beyond a particular election, not just these 5 elections that took place, but also the next general election, and look more long-term into the future. I think in the medium term and certainly in the long term, the cult of Narendra Modi is weakening the BJP. It's corroding it, it's ridding it of its internal dynamism, it's making it too dependent on one person, and that makes me hopeful about Indian democracy because I abhor personality cults. I mean, I've written hundreds of pages in my book, India After Gandhi, about the damage done to Indian institutions and the democratic ethos by the cult of Indira Gandhi. So that the creation of such a larger than life figure, Superman figure, means that it may work for one election, two elections, even three. But Mr. Modi is in his early to mid 70s, and maybe Hindutva won't have the appeal after him. Maybe there'll be a renewal of federalism, a renewal of pluralism. But the opposition also has to think about what they need to do for this renewal of our democratic and pluralist traditions to be made possible.
Let me, however, bring you back to the present. Congress has won just 1 out of 5 states, and even in Mizoram, where some congressmen were bizarrely predicting they were going to win the state, they've ended up losing 3 of the 4 seats they have. They have only 1 seat, and BJP, which used to be an outsider in the state, now has 2 seats and double the number of seats Congress has in Mizoram. Where does this leave Congress's desire to be the leader of the India bloc? Is that now completely out of the question?
Look, it's a weakened leader. It's a leader without authority. It weakens Mr. Kharge, who, in some ways, in negotiations with other parties in the India bloc, is trusted on and respected much more than any of the Gandhis. So I think, yes, I mean, it's. I mean, I would still want. I'm not saying we're going to get it. I would, as I've said earlier in this interview, Karan, the best years for Indian democracy and Indian economic growth were between 1991 and 2014, when no single party had a large majority in the Lok Sabha, and this is not accidental. When you have 200, 220, in the case of Congress, first time 145, then 209, BJP 190, National 240. But you have that kind of number, you have to bring the states on board, you have to be more consultative. The press will be freer because they won't be so captive to one leader, one party. The judiciary will be more courageous, more autonomous, more independent. The civil service will be more less compromised. The ED and the CBI won't run berserk the way they are now. So I think every Indian Democrat, regardless of which party he or she belongs to, if you're a BJP supporter and you're an Indian Democrat and you want India to have a caring, prosperous, compassionate, inclusive, relatively conflict-free future, do not give the BJP 300 seats next time, because that will lead to a further erosion of Indian democracy, a further collapse of our institutions, which will have terrible impacts on the economy, on employment, on environmental sustainability, on social conflict, on minority rights, and everything else.
Is there a fundamental question that not just Congress, but the opposition parties as a whole, but also individually have to ask themselves, what is their aim and target when they contest the 2024 elections? Is it to defeat Modi and prevent Modi from coming to power, or is it to, in fact, enhance the number of seats they each individually win? Because if it's the latter, Modi will win. But if it's the former, they have a chance of at least reducing him below 272. Is that a fundamental question they need to ask themselves?
Karan, I am a scholar. I'm in the business of understanding, thinking through, analyzing. I'm not in the business of giving advice. I'm not a Rajguru.
No, I'm not asking you to give advice. I'm asking you to analyze. I'm asking you to analyze. Is that a question they need to ask themselves?
I would say the lesson for the Congress is twofold. First, be more accommodating and less arrogant towards parties that are powerful. Threefold. One, be less arrogant and more accommodating to parties that are powerful in their states and where they leave some space for you. Could be the DMK in Tamil Nadu, the TMC in Bengal, the Samajwadi Party in UP, the Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab and Delhi, the RJD and JDU in Bihar, the NCP in Maharashtra, Shiv Sena, Thakare in Maharashtra. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson for the Congress is, find ways in which you can increase your strike rate in those 190 or 200 seats where you will still be in direct competition with the BJP. And the third lesson, which will be the most difficult for them to digest, is that In North India, Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi cannot win you seats and elections. That will be the most difficult for them to digest. In fact, a friend whom I won't name, who shares the same concerns as I do about majoritarianism and the personality cult and the weakening of democratic institutions, said, I now fear that given the sycophant culture of the Congress Party and given how badly they've done in the North Indian states, the sycophants will blame it on Kharge and said, make Priyanka president. I don't know, these words have already started, but these are three lessons. The third, they're least likely to learn. That young Indians detest entitlement and fifth generation dynasts. That's one of the reasons why KCR and his family and the BRS lost in Telangana. The third reason, it may take them be hardest for them to digest. The second, blood young leaders, not the Kamal Naths, the Digvijay Singhs, if you want to be competitive in states like Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. And the first lesson is be less arrogant and more respectful and more accommodating towards parties in states where you are yourself a minor player.
My last question: as a result of the outcome of these 5 state elections, India is now a politically divided country. But my question is that a sign of hope, or is that a moment of despair and disquiet? Because other than Jagan Mohan Reddy, there is no party in South India that is actually close to the BJP. And if the BJP allies with Naidu, which it may well, even Jagan will no longer be within their clasp. And therefore, it means that from the south all the way up to the east, all the way to the Kashmir Valley, including Punjab and Himachal Pradesh, the country is split between BJP and its allies and non-BJP parties. Is that a sign of hope, or is that a moment of despair and concern?
The more the latter. I'd say something. I live in South India. And why is there this divergence? It's not a divide, it's a divergence between North and South. Divide is a oversimplification and hyperbole. The South is more economically dynamic, more welcoming of entrepreneurs, innovators. In my city, Bangalore, a young idealists and entrepreneurs from all over India. There are 5 flights a day to Lucknow, bringing people from Lucknow. They're not taking people from Kannadigas to Lucknow to invest or start something. They got to look for jobs. So it's a hub of innovation, of creativity, of interest in science. There's more. It's still patriarchal, but less patriarchal than the North. So there's more space for women's agency. It's still partly communal, but much less communal than the North. So Muslims and Christians are much safer. It has a more outward-looking orientation towards the world. And these are the states in which the BJP is at its weakest. And, including and now that Hyderabad is with the Congress. So Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai, 3 growth engines, along with, of course, Bombay and Ahmedabad, which are in the north or the west. So this is something which, but I don't think it worries Amit Shah and Modi. They want 300 seats. They will do what they can. They will appoint governors who will intimidate southern governments. I mean, what R.N. Ravi has done in Tamil Nadu and what Arif Mohammad Khan has done in Kerala, and what also the previous governor did in Telangana, it will not inhibit them. Or what the Punjab governor is doing in the Ahmadi party in Punjab. It's very bad for us. We are a federal society, but it will not impede them. If next time the South votes against them in Lok Sabha, they will take vengeance by more harassment, more ED, God knows, and more bribery perhaps to get politicians on their side. So it is, and I can tell you, it should worry us. It should worry us in itself, and it should worry us more because the BJP under Shah and Modi adopt a winner-take-all model, and they don't care about the consequences for religion, society, economy, federalism, not at all. So it should really worry us. I mean, at a personal level, obviously, I can do things in Bangalore I could not do in Lucknow or Bhopal. I mean, I gave a talk 2 days ago in Bangalore to a very large audience, and I could never have given that talk without police protection, even it would not have been provided to me, shall we say, in a place like Ahmedabad or Lucknow or Bhopal. So Personally, I personally my independent views and my anti-majoritarian understanding of India, based on the fact that I'm a biographer of Mahatma Gandhi. You know, for me, maybe I'm happy personally that the South is, shall we say, BJP Mukt now, along with Telangana. But as an Indian Democrat, who values the traditional freedom struggle, the idea of the Constitution, I do worry, and I worry more because it does not concern us. I mean, when the last point I'll make, Karan, is soon we will go in for delimitation after 2026. Now, the sensible thing for Narendra Modi to do would be to do what Vajpayee did in 2001 and kick the can down the road for 25 years. Because I think that will really our federal system is under great strain because of 9 years of Narendra Modi's rule, and another 5 years with arrogance, intolerance, capture and misuse of institutions. I worry. So I think because they don't understand the gravity of this divergence that could become a divide.
Ramchandra Guha, thank you very much for the time you've given me.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.